Hello everyone and welcome back to Nagash, a channel dedicated to Age Sigmar, and in this video we're going to be looking at the Tzeentch disciples of Tzeentch. I say disciples of Tzeentch, we're going to be looking at the sort of mortal side, so it's like the Acolytes and things like that. And with us, joining us today, is going to be Martin from Chasing Those Sixes. How you doing, Martin?
I'm not too bad, mate. What about yourself?
Very well, thank you. And Martin is a Tzeentch player. However, he plays mainly demons, but he does have a bit of an understanding with the mortals. Is that fair to say, Martin?
Yeah. I've played with them. I'm just more of a demon player.
No worries. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through the mortal units they have, and then a couple other units that are worth a mention at the end, like State of Darkness units and whatnot. So we're going to start with the sort of the lower tier, and then we're going to make our way up. So we're going to start with the normal units, and then we're going to get to heroes later. And with the normal units, how could we not start with Karalik Acolytes? So these units, they come in minimum units of 10 and maximum units of 30, Martin?
Yeah, I think it's that is the max block.
Cool. And can you remember how many points they are for 30? Sorry, for 10?
10's 80.
10's 80. Cool. And do they get? They don't get a mass can't even speak properly. A mass discount, do they?
For pies, it's 40 because you take 40 for 300. So you get a little bit of a discount. So what's that? You get 20 points off, or 20 points off for if you take the maximum unit of 40.
Cool. So you get a little bit off, and going into their war scroll, they've got a 6-inch movement. Pardon me. They've got a 6+ save. They've got 5 bravery and 1 wound. Now with their weapons, they've got a few options. So the first one's going to be their missile weapons. This is going to be the Sorceress Bolt. This is a 12-inch range, 1 attack, 5 to hit, force to wound, no render, 1 damage. And then the melee weapons, we've got a couple. So we've got the first one is Cursed Blade, range of 1 inch, 1 attack, force to hit, force to wound, no render, 1 damage. And then the Cursed Glaive, which is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, force to wound, -1 rend, and 1 damage. So do you want to take us through the description and the abilities of these?
Yeah, so the Acolytes are a little bit unique in the sense of that you can kind of mix up what you can give them. A weapon, or sort of a thing that's not mentioned on there, that if you read the description itself, is they can take shields as well. So so many models can take the glaives, which is the -1 rend thing. That's like a 200 weapon. You can give them 2 Cursed Blades. You can give them a Cursed Blade and a shield. They all get access to the Sorcerer's Bolt. So the Sorcerer's Bolt is a ranged attack, and it's essentially however many models are in that unit can use that. The leader of the group's called an Adept, and he's quite good because he gets to make 2 attacks with Sorcerer's Bolt rather than 1. These are quite a fun unit because they're quite cheap as well. Like obviously, they're 80 points for 10. Meaning you can take like big blocks of these guys, and if you take even 20, 20, you're essentially getting 21 Sorcerer's Bolt attacks. 5 up isn't great, but it's a ranged attack, and they've got a melee attack, which is quite nice. Because you can mix up what you can take, if you give them a shield, the shield is essentially what we would consider like a 6-up feel no pain. So before you allocate a wound, you roll the dice, on a 6, the shield deflects the damage. Now, it doesn't state that shield has to be in the front row, essentially. So you can have all the shields at the back and take the shields off as you go, which is nice because it gives them like a level of protection, essentially. They can take somebody that's got Gestalt Sorcery. You can add 1 to hit rolls of this unit's Sorcerer's Bolts if they're within 9 inches of a friendly Tzeentch Wizard. So that also means pink horrors because they are a Tzeentch Wizard. Keep that in mind. Which is nice because it means that they're hitting on 4s, wounding on 4s with a ranged attack. Next rule on it is pair of Cursed Blades. Add 1 to any hit rolls made for models attacking with Cursed Blades, taking their Cursed Blades from a 4 to a 3, which is quite nice. 1 in 10 models can carry a scroll of dark arts. Basically, it increases the sorcerer's bolts range from 12 to 18, which is always nice. And then 1 in 10 can carry a Volcark, which, if you look at the pictures, is the model with like the vulture looking bird thing flying off his arm. Basically, if your opponent casts a spell within 18 inches on a 5-up, you roll a dice, on a 5-up, that wizard suffers a mortal wound. So it's free. Basically, you always take it. You always take the scroll of dark arts, and you always take the Volcark, because you basically don't lose, because technically it doesn't say you take that and you lose something. You can still technically say he's got a cursed blade and a shield or whatever. There's no sort of thing to say that you can't do that, which is nice. I like the Carrick Acolytes. They're beautiful models. Like, just looking at the models, like you'll obviously be able to see them on screen. They're excellent looking models. They're really, really nice. Again, they're cheap in points. 6-inch move is actually quite reasonable for a foot-slogging battle line. 6-up saves a bit mince, but the Arcanite shield, that helps kind of... Well, you're rolling for 6s anyway, and even if your opponent rends you out, even neg 1 rend is going to push you into no save. You're always guaranteed essentially a 6-up save, which is nice. The bravery is where it can be a bit of a problem. 5-up bravery is not good.
No, that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I read the War Scroll. Is like when I say first thing comes to my mind, I mean mainly the first negative thing.
Yes. So the 5 bravery, these guys are not survivable. The Arcanite shield is very nice, but if you take 6 wounds, for example, only 1 in 6 is going to actually be saved. If you do it statistically, I know that's not how it always works, but statistically, only 1 in 6 is going to be saved by, if it's a no rend, by your save, which is going to put 5 wounds through. Even if you said that 1 in 6 is going to be saved from that again, that's 4 dead. You're already in bravery requirement territories. It doesn't take a lot to start pushing braveries on this guys, which can make these guys quite command point heavy if you don't want them to run away. A big positive on them that I think people underestimate, and certainly I underestimated it, is actually that Sorcerer's Bolt.
Because when you first look at it on the stats, it's not impressive at all, but you get 2 very inert, easy abilities to just make it better.
Yeah, so the fact that it's got 12-inch range is nice, but because you're going to be taking Scroll of the Dark Arts, remember it's 1 in every 10. So if you take 40, you can take 4 scrolls, which means if they die, you're not losing that capability. And the Gestalt Sorcery special rule means that if you've got a wizard within 9, because it's not wholly within 9, it's just within 9, that means that you can add 1 to the hit rolls of the Sorcerer's Bolts. So you could potentially have 40 Sorcerer's Bolts within 18-inch range, with 4s to hit, 4s to wound. Okay, it doesn't have any rend, but if you've got 2 units of them on the battlefield, yes, it's 600 points. How many people's investing 600 points into the battle line? But, unless you're ever chosen. And that's like 80 dice, 4s and 4s. That's essentially 20 wounds. If you do it statistically, that's 20 wounds. That's a 10-man Liberator squad, flat out dead. That's even Archeon. You're even pushing Archeon to make saves. He's a 20 wound model. That's statistically him dead. And okay, you're not taking the saves and stuff like that, but that's a lot. That's a lot of firepower.
So with that in mind, if you were to take this unit in a game, would it be for shooting purposes? Would you use it as a shooting unit or what?
Oh, so this is something, again, Tzeentch seems to have this in spades. Like these sort of middle of the line units that are good at that are not great at shooting, but they're not great at combat. But what I tend to try and remember is that it doesn't matter what you match these guys off against, they essentially get to attack twice, because they'll get to shoot in the shooting phase, and then they'll get to fight in the combat phase. And if you time this right, you can essentially attack twice before your opponent even gets 1 attack against them. So they're not a tar pit by any means. They're not They're not like super survivable. Don't get me wrong, the 6-up save, basically it's like Deathless Minions. When it goes off, it's great because it just stops somebody from dying. But you know the cursed blade. So the trick is you mix it up. So you put the glaive in to get some rend, and you put in twin blades because that'll give you hitting on threes, which is going to make you more reliable. You essentially put the bulk arc in so that if anybody casts any spells within range of these guys that goes off, you have a chance to inflict wounds. So it means you've got a reach, even when you're tied in combat, that still has an effect. It's what was said before. It's picking off wounds all the time. You run these guys forward, you use their Sorcerer's Bolt to wear down whatever they're going to charge into, you charge them in, you get an attack off, you do a handful of wounds, and the next turn, yes, you take some damage, but then you get to shoot again, and then you get to attack again. You're basically always doubling your chances of inflicting some damage.
Yeah, so it makes them fairly versatile then, doesn't it? But they're not cheap. Like you're saying when you're talking about the points. So,
in Tzeentch they are cheap. And I think this is what we need. This is the thing with Tzeentch that is difficult. If you look at a unit of 10 pink horrors, 10 pink horrors
oh, yeah, okay.
is 180 points. But when the pink horrors die, they get blue horrors and brimstone horrors. Not only that, the pink horrors are also wizards. So you could take purely acolytes, but a nice little combo is to take, say, 20 acolytes and 10 pink horrors and keep the two quite close, because the acolytes are very glass hammery. If you put them up against something that doesn't have a great save, these guys will chew through it real fast, because the shooting's going to inflict wounds and the melee is going to inflict wounds. Plus, if you've got the pink horrors nearby, they've also got a shooting attack, and you can cast damage and magic with them. So it can force your opponent into the bravery side of things quicker than they anticipate. And also bear in mind, if you kill off whatever these guys are fighting, they can then turn around and start shooting again. So they don't have to be in close combat. They're not like a group of Marauders or Chaos Warriors or Bloodbound models, or even Nurgle guys like Blight Kings that must be in close combat to have any effect. These guys can walk up, an 18-inch range, with a shooting attack on 20 models is nothing to sniff at. It's decent.
Exactly. And then just like one more thing just to say about these guys before we move on to the next ones, is if you're like, obviously if you're fully aware of Tzeentch and you've been playing the game for a while, you already know this. But like we've just been talking about, if you're sort of brand new and you look at these guys, you think, oh, they're the Tzeentch version of the Khorne, Blood Reavers. That's their sort of role. They're not. They're a lot more. They're like, how many points are these guys again?
80 points. 80 points for 10.
Yeah, 80 points for 10. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, it's only 10 points more than Reavers, but these guys are, just because they look like they're this, basically the standard naked guys for Tzeentch,
yeah.
the light infantry, if you like. They play very different roles. And just to go into the keywords, they've got Chaos Immortal, Tzeentch, Arcanite, and Chaotic Arcanites. Okay, and then moving on to the next one is going to be the Zangor. So this is a bit of a step up compared to the last ones we just looked at. And how many points are they going to be for 10?
For 10, it's 180. So these guys are expensive.
And what's the max size unit? Is it 30?
Yeah, 30, which is 480 points.
So quick maths, is there a Legion discount on that or not?
Hang on, 180 is 360 plus 180. So yeah, I think that's, what's that, 20 points?
20 points. I mean, it's something, isn't it? It doesn't sound like a lot, 20 points, but we will have it when we're list building and whatnot, and how much of a difference 20 points does make. Even just if it's chucking an end the spell, it means you get a triumph, or it means...
Well, put it this way, you're more likely to take a max size unit of these than you have to take a max size unit of Acolytes.
Yes, you are. And that's because we're going to go into what their war scroll is, so they've got 6-inch movement, a 5+ save, bravery 5, 2 wound. And then going into their weapons, so there's 3 there. We've got Savage Blade, which is a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force hit, force to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. We've got a special weapon here, so Savage Great Blade, and this is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, force to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. And then we've got Vicious Beak, which is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, 5 to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So these guys, with their stats anyway, again, Bravery 5 is probably the one bad thing here. And take us away with the abilities and description.
So yeah, leader of the unit's Twist Spray. He gets to add 1 to his hit rolls for melee weapons. So, you know, if he's got Savage Blades or the Great Blade, he's getting 3s, which is nice. 1 in every 10 can be an Icon Bearer, which lets them use the Ornate Totem ability, which we'll get to further down. Brayhorn, 1 in every 10 can include a Brayhorn. They can run and charge, which is excellent.
You can't underestimate that, can you?
Oh, that's a game changer for this unit, because as you can see, even just comparing these guys to the Acolytes, these are melee, totally melee centric. There is no shooting attack. It is melee 100%. They've got a Zangor Mutant. 1 in every 5 can be a mutant armed with a pair of Savage Blades and a Vicious Beak. Add 1 to the attack characteristic, so you can essentially give them a pair of blades. 1 in every 5. These guys can also take a shield, which gives them a 6-up. Now it's very specific. On a 6+, a mortal wound or wound is negated. So they also have mortal wound protection and a 5-up save, which is decent. Pair of Savage Blades, add 1 to the attacks made for a pair of blades. Savage Ray Unleashed, add 1 to the attack characteristics of this unit's melee weapons if it has at least 9 models when the attacks are being made. Very important, which we will get to.
What I say about this unit is, I'm sure you're about to go onto it, a very hidden thing about this unit, obviously, until you read the War Scroll completely, is... So yes, the Savage Blade does sound like the standard attack these guys have. However, that Savage Great Blade, 2 in every 5 can have.
Yep.
And, at that point, if you're taking a unit of 10, what does that give you? What, 4, isn't it? Yeah, it gives you 4.
4 blades.
4, 2 mutants.
Mutants.
A standard bearer.
Standard bearer, a hornblower.
So you have 1 normal one? No. How many do you have? 3 normal ones?
3 normal ones. Yeah. And that also gives you access to shields. And again, it's the same thing as the Acolyte. You can choose to allocate the wounds onto the shields, meaning you can choose whether to have an extra save or not, which of course you're going to do. That's the whole trick with these guys. Moving on, the next one is Destined Mayhem. Add 1 to wound rolls for melee units when they are wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Arcanite hero, which is quite good. And finally, the Ornate Totem, which is the rule that taking an icon grants. At the start of your hero phase, pick a unit within 18 inches of this unit that's visible. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of wizard units that are within 9 inches of this unit. For each 4 plus that suffers a mortal wound. So it's not great.
But the wizard is any wizard though, isn't it? Not just yours.
Yes. So it's, yeah, if your opponent's, got like, the Sigmar thing when they're running like 5 wizards or something, then yeah, you're essentially getting a 50% chance for every wizard to inflict a mortal wound. And you can pick where they go. So you can drop them on that wizard, which you can't get to because there's a line of infantry in the way. You have a chance to chuck a mortal wound out. It's nice. I don't find that, for me it didn't come up that often, but that's not why you're taking these guys. You're taking these guys because if they get into close combat with something, play blenders. Nothing can withstand the sheer number of attacks that these things put out. It's unbelievable. They've got a 6-inch move, which makes them reasonably quick again. They're quite light. They've got a 5-up save, which is better than the Acolytes. They got a 5 bravery, which I think is worse than the Acolytes, but they've got 2 wounds. So, although they've got a lower bravery, which, as you'll see from the War Scroll, you look at that and go, wait a minute here, that's not great. They've got 2 wounds.
I think the bravery's the same. But
I'll just double check actually. Because they're right next to you. Yeah, bravery 5. So,
but the fact that they're a lot more expensive does sort of make it feel like it's worse.
Yes. If you take that snapshot of that profile, you think, why am I paying double points? Essentially double the points plus 20 for the same amount, and they don't have a ranged attack. But when you mix up the weapons, so you give yourself a bit of variety on weapons, it's going to give you rend. If you double up weapons, it's going to give you better to hit. If you've got the mutant, he also gets to add an attack to his characteristics. When they take a pair of blades, they get to add 1 to their hit rolls. You know, if they're near an Arcanite hero, they get to add 1 to the wound. So you can stack these guys up. I think the best way you can get them is, if you've got a pair of Savage Blades, you'll get 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, which is excellent. You know, so you're going to get a handful of those. You've then got the Great Blade, which is going to give you the negative rend, the 2 damage, which is very, very good. That can be buffed up because it simply just gives being within range of an Arcanite hero just makes the 2 wound better, which is excellent. And every model in the unit gets the Vicious Beak attack. So you'll always have 2 melee weapon profiles on your War Scroll for this unit, which is, I think, is really, really good. I think that's really like a nice little touch. I'm just having a look down to see. I don't really know what else to say about these guys. If you get into melee, like, these guys are glass. If you run them up to something that has high rend, these guys are going to struggle, kind of. The shield gives you the ability to pass off wounds, and it gives you an opportunity to negate a wound. However, once you run out of shields, you're going to find that you're going to start getting minced quite quickly. But usually whatever's in combat with these guys is dead before that happens. So
yeah, their speed moving across the table.
Yeah, well, compared to Acolytes, I'm going to take these guys in a match group. I want to take as many weapons as I can, because by the time I get to my opponent, I'm going to have lost a few. It's almost an inevitability. But whatever they charge into is going to lose a lot more than what you're going to lose. They got a price. I'm sure they got a price hike when Age of Sigmar sort of version 2 came around, because these guys were just horrendous. Honestly, they were blenders with legs. If you kept a Cursling nearby, which is because the Cursling is one of the few melee heroes, the synergy between the two was frightening. The Cursling could protect them from getting sort of battered with magic and getting mortal wounds put on them. If it did go through, the shield would help protect them from mortal wounds, and then whatever was trying to inflict mortal wounds would then have to deal with them. And you couldn't deal with it. And because the horn lets them run and charge, you've essentially got a 6-inch movement plus d6 plus 2d6 on the charge. So you can cover a huge distance with these guys very quickly. So I think this War Scroll is probably one of the most misleading War Scrolls that you've got. It's really hard to look at these guys and just say this is what they do, because until you've actually faced them on the tabletop or used them, you don't understand how effective these guys are at killing. They're amazing at killing heroes. There's very few heroes that will even stand one turn of punishment from these guys, because the sheer volume of attacks that these guys put out is just, it's almost unstoppable. It's like a Dance Macabre skeleton horde. It's not so much the quality of the attacks, it's the quantity. So I think that's something for people to think about, when they're picking a battle line unit. Do they want, when you're comparing the mortal units, and you want to go down the mortal route, do you want more expensive units that are just outright better in melee, or do you want a cheaper unit where you're going to get more bodies for your points, but you're actually also going to get less wounds? Because again, the Zangors have got 2 wounds per model. So it's a balance in that. It really comes down to playstyle. It really does. It comes down to playstyle, and only you as the player can actually decide out of these which one of these 2 you like, because they both benefit from having different kinds of heroes next to them. So the Zangors is an Arcanite hero, and the Acolytes is a Whizzer. It doesn't have to be a demon, it doesn't have to be a mortal, it just has to be a Tzeentch Whizzer. So even Slave to Darkness Chaos Sorcerer Lord can trigger these guys' ability. So it really comes down to your playstyle, which I think is nice. I think it's good.
Yeah, I agree. And like it's been said before, Tzeentch doesn't have too many answers to hard-hitting, close combat units. They don't really have too many themselves, and this is one of them. And it's not like it's mediocre, it is pretty good, especially when buffed up. When
these guys are buffed up, these are horrendous. Like, honestly, I've played against these guys once, and I hated it. Because you just can't kill them fast enough. You either have to dedicate all of your resources into making this unit ineffective, and they've got a funny ruling as well, because in most War Scrolls, and I've noticed this, and this will probably change, but it's like it'll say 10 or more models. This doesn't. This says 9 or more models. Now that doesn't seem like a big difference, but considering their minimum unit size is 10, even if you lose 1, you're still getting that plus.
Yeah, well, it means the enemy has to do... I was just going to say, you're right. I mean, the enemy has to do at least 4 wounds to you.
Exactly. Which is... It's a big deal, 4 wounds. That's 4 Acolytes. That's triggering bravery. Whereas on these guys, that's barely even scratching the surface.
Yeah, it's like, obviously when you have an annoying enemy hero, that's a synergetic one, like if we got a Bloodscrater or something, a 5 wound hero, That's a lot of good things for your opponent's army. But you've only got a little bit of shooting and you think, I could try and kill it, but I'm going to need to do 5 wounds. These guys, to try and nerf them a bit, you're going to need to do, well, if they're unit 10, you're going to need to, like I say, do 4 wounds, which is nearly the same as that hero.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing as well is you're not really taking these guys in units of 10. So actually trying to cut through them is it's a big ask. For your opponent, it's a big ask. And your opponent will know this. They will see you putting these things down and know, I am keeping my heroes as far away from these guys as possible.
Yeah. There we go. What a good unit. So going on to the keywords, we've got Chaos Gore, Tzeentch, Arcanite, and Zangors. We've got that, and then moving on to the next unit, which is going to be like Zangors, but these ones are going to be Zangor Enlightened. So these ones are obviously like the brothers to the Zangor Skyfires, which we'll get to after these ones. But these are the close combat variants. So how many points are they going to cost us?
So these can be taken in 2 forms. The Zangor Enlightened can be taken with or without a disc. So if you take them without a disc, it's 100 points, and they come in a unit of 3. And if you take them on a disc, it's 160 points, and they come with a unit of 3. With the disc, they also gain the demon keyword, which I think is important to kind of put out there.
Yeah, so it's before, though, well, I say before the latest edition General's Handbook, they were the same points cost, were they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
if you took disc or not.
So essentially, if you're going to talk about the Enlightened, I think something to put out there pretty sharpish is that always take them on a disc.
They get plus 10 to their movement, don't
they? Yeah. They get an extra attack.
Extra wound.
They get an extra wound. They get 10 inches movement. They also gain the demon keyword, which is very important because it's logistic with other things in the army.
Yeah.
So I've never, and I don't know anyone, so I can't say it, but I can. The ones on foot are 100 points. You get 3 guys for 100 points. Just go to the discs. The discs are always going to get you your points back. That extra 60 points for an extra, because remember, it's an extra 60 points for the unit. So it's an extra 10-inch movement, yes, but it's actually an extra 3 wounds, which is essentially like having an extra Enlightened.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, unless you're specifically going against a Seraphon army with 4, Bastiladons, always go disc. And it's one of those, isn't it, where it's not like, oh, you can choose, like what games you go into, should I take them disc, take them out? Because obviously that's how you're going to build the model. But the attacks we're going to go into in a minute. I mean, like the teeth and horns from the disc, they're not like, oh, it's 2 attacks, 4 to hit, 5 to wound, no rend, 1 damage, like a horse attack. They are almost better than the guys themselves. So yeah. Right, so going into their stats, so they've got a 6-inch movement, a 5+ save, a bravery 6, 3 wounds, so a better bravery there. Obviously, they get 4 wounds if they have the disc. And then going into the mini weapons, we've got the Tzeentch spear, which is a 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. Very nice. The vicious beak, 1-inch range, 1 attack, 4 to hit, 5 to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. And then the teeth and horns, 1-inch range, D3 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, and D3 damage. So take us through your thoughts and the abilities.
I like the Enlightened. I'm just going to put that out there now. So I always take them on a disc. So the only rule that's different between the discs and the non-discs, or non-on-disc units, special rules wise, is they have the ones on disc have the mount keyword. So that's really the only difference. But the leader is an Aviarch. He gets to add 1 to the attack characteristics of a spear, so it gives him 4 attacks instead of 3, which is nice. They've got Babbling Stream of Secrets, which is a really great name for a special ability. If an enemy unit fails a battle shock test within 9 inches of any friendly Zangor Enlightened units, add 1 to the number of models that flee. Always very nice when your opponent has to take battle shock. And the rule that makes them good, that makes them synergistic, is guided by the past. Now this is important because it's the opposite to the Skyfires, which you will see, but they have, in the combat phase, you can re-roll failed hit and wound rolls, made for attacks by this unit if 1 or more enemy units within 3 inches have already fought in the phase. So, sort of dialing that back to, I think we should start at the top and work back down and go through the rules and stuff and how they synergize really well. So first and foremost, I take them on the disc. So you're getting a 16-inch move. That's huge. I think that is, if not one of the fastest basic models without any running, charging, special rules, anything in the game. 16 inches is massive. That is a huge...
It's a huge range, isn't it?
Massive range. And on 160 points, that's excellent. The 5-up save, yeah, okay, it's not great. We knew that. The 5-up save... They
haven't really got any armour, have they? Let's be honest.
No, and that's kind of their point, is they're a bit glass. 6-up bravery, only time that the bravery ever comes into effect is really when you're getting attacked by a bravery modifying characteristic weapon. So like a Banshee's Scream or the Terrorgeist that's got the bravery attack rule, so stuff like that.
And all that.
Yeah. So really the bravery doesn't come into it because they've got 4 wounds each. Basically, if these guys charge first, which in most instances they will, because they've got a 16-inch move, followed up by a 2d6 charge. It's huge. It's a massive threat range. It's almost as big as any ranged attack as a threat range. So like, these guys don't have any ranged attack, but it's almost like they do. And because the discs have got fly, you're totally unimpeded by terrain or other units. you can fly these guys right over the top of all your opponent's battle line and do what these guys do best, which is murder heroes, because heroes just cannot withstand these kind of attacks. You know, in a unit of 3, you're going to be getting 10 spear attacks because the AV leader gets +1. They've got a 2-inch range, so it also means if these guys come up behind, you know, even like a single line of, say, Chaos Warriors, they can attack over them. Force the hit, 3s to wound is very, very good. The -1 rend is always nice, and 2 damage. 2 damage is great. It can make light work of things like Liberators and Blood Warriors, you know, almost instantly. They all get the vicious beak attack like the Zangors do, like just the standard Zangors do, which is nice. It's just an extra attack. It's usually only, it's in a unit of 3, it's only 3 extra attacks, but it's potentially another wound. And the teeth and horns. So you're essentially getting 3d3 attacks, doing force to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, but d3 damage. That is almost, it's a slightly weaker spear profile. It's not as consistent as the spear, but it's still quite good for a mount.
Really good for a mount, especially it's something what I found when I first fought it. It's down to my own error. However, I was under the impression that, it's only a disc, it isn't going to hurt that much. I think, to be fair, the first time I ever fought against a disc, long time ago, I was sort of surprised that I had an attack. Because it's like, teeth and horns. It's like, yeah, I suppose it does. And then I took loads of damage from it. So don't be.
And then, like you say, it's the Tzeentch thing. You know, it's not always about the straight up punch. It's that whittling your opponent down. It's the combination of things. You know, and I think whittling down is important. And I think this profile has that babbling stream of secrets that really exemplifies that. So it doesn't happen often, but as the later stages of the game move on, you know, being within 9, not wholly within, just within 9 of Zangor Enlightened units, you add 1 to the number of models that flee in the Battle Shock phase for your opponent's units. 1 extra model doesn't seem like a game changer, but when you're talking about things like Mornfang, who, you know, people taking units of 4, if one of their units models flees, you've actually taken out 2. You know, so that rule against elite units is very, very good. Very, very good. And it's a lot of people underestimate it, and a lot of people also forget about it. So this is one of those things to get on the cheat sheet to remember, because it comes up later on in the game when you and your opponent are running out of command points, when the heroes don't have the bubbles anymore, and you've got 16-inch move, and you can fly, and it's got a 9-inch range, so you can essentially have a 24-inch bubble that you can target essentially to make your opponent extra models flee. Like I say, not that great on a skeleton squad, you know, or it's not that great when you're fighting against ghouls or, you know, free guild. It's not that fantastic.
There are a lot of elite things out there, aren't there?
Yes, and like I say, Mornfang's a great example because they, you know, for the Beastclaw Raiders, they don't have a high bravery. So if they've got a unit of 4, you kill off 2 of their guys, they roll a 6 on their battle shock, you've actually just killed the whole unit. Because one's run away, and then their ability makes another one run away. So you've actually cleared the whole unit in 1 round of attacks. That would take most armies 2 or 3 turns to get through. So, and then guided by the past. This is a very good rule, but this kind of shows this. I think this rule also exemplifies what was said in sort of the earlier videos about Tzeentch, that you really do need to practice with Tzeentch. You do need to have a good understanding of your army, because guided by the past lets you re-roll all failed hit and wound rolls for attacks if an enemy unit within 3 inches has already fought. So you can actually punish your opponent for attacking you first, because you can make these guys basically never miss. You know, you're taking those per model. We're going to say, let's say the D3 is averaging 2 per model. That's giving you 3, 5, 6 attacks. You're forced to hit, not that great. Everything's got forced to hit. You're going to drop 50% of them. But being able to reroll all failed hits and all failed wounds just makes these guys even more effective. Just makes them even more useful. And like I say, you can, like we said before, you're talking about manipulation. You're talking about board presence and board manipulation. Having 2 units of 3 on opposite sides of the board means your opponent has got to pick, which one am I giving rerolls to? Because one of them is going to get to access this ability, which is very handy.
And like I say, you're just trying to make your opponent make more decisions. More decisions to make, more likely they are going to make a mistake. And so it's all about ball control and, sort of twists and all those sorts of things the enemy aren't expecting. That's very much the spirit of Tzeentch as well. So you have that as well, for fluff reasons.
Also, like, on top of that, they're also a very nice model.
Yes, they are. And they're one of the newer models as well, which is a lot of the Tzeentch. Well, I say one of the newer models. We just talked about 2 of the other newer models, Angles and Acolytes.
Yeah.
And because the newer models doesn't mean they don't have any mold lines or anything like that, but it does mean that they don't take as long to clean up when you're building them.
And they're crammed. The discs are also crammed with detail. There's a lot of thought being put into the discs.
A lot of thought. Something to bear in mind when you come to painting, they may take a little bit of time.
But they look nice, they do.
And worth it, yeah. Like, don't glue them together, maybe, when you're building them.
No, well, that's what I've done. So, if we're going to talk about a hobby trick, I have magnetised the disc onto the stock that it sits on. It's like a wisp of smoke or whatever, or a branch or something, I can't remember. But I've magnetised it onto that. And then the plan is don't put the Zangor onto the disc. Paint the 2 separately, and then you could take them together, because you can still disconnect the disc from the base. So you're still going to essentially half the profile size of the model. So that's just a little something maybe for you to have a think about.
Yeah, and there we go. Right, so the last thing to say about them, so their keywords, they've got Chaos, Gore, Beast of Chaos, Brayherd, Tzeentch, Arcanite, and Zangor Enlightened. And obviously they will have the Demon keyword if you take them with the mount, which you will do. Okay, so then moving on to the next one, which is going to be their cousins, and these are Zangor Skyfires. So how many points are they going to cost us?
These guys are 200 points per 3. These guys are a little bit more expensive.
Okay, and we'll get to see why in their War Scroll. So to start off with the War Scroll, we'll talk about their stats. So they've got a 16-inch movement, 5+ save, bravery 6, and 4 wounds. They then have their weapons, so the first one, which is a missile weapon, the most important one, the Arrow of Fate. This is a 24-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, and D3 damage. And then we have the 3 melee weapons. We've got the Bow Staff, which is a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 5 to hit, 5 to wound, no rend, 1 damage. The Vicious Beak, which is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, 5 to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. And then we've got the Teeth and Horns, which is a 1-inch range, D3 attacks, force to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, and D3 damage. Okay, so before you take away, Martin, I will say, these guys, I'm sure they're nerfed to hell than when they were in first edition of Age of Sigmar. However, I haven't played them since first edition, so I still have a strong hatred for them, and very much will say bad things about them and claim they're overpowered, even though they're probably not. So I'll let you talk about these ones.
So, like the Enlightened, they have the massive, the humongous 16-inch move. Now, I'm just going to say that when you combine that with the Arrow of Fate, which is its basically its bow attack, which has 24-inch range, you don't need to be a mathematician, 40-inch effective range. Massive. Massive.
It is overpowered.
Not anymore. I don't think they are anymore. They got quite a sizable price hike. 200 points is quite a lot. Essentially, their profile is the same. Everything about them is the same, apart from the fact that they have a ranged weapon. They still have a melee attack. They still have the vicious beaks, but they're not. You're not taking them for their melee prowess. you're taking them for their shooting ability. So their Aviarch, which is their leader, gets to add 1 to hit rolls for his Arrow of Fate. So your leader's hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, neg 1 rend, D3 damage, which is great. So the Enlightened had Guided by the Past. These guys have Guided by the Future, which is in the combat phase. Reroll all failed to hit and wound rolls if no unit or no enemy unit within 3 inches has fought yet. So if you attack first, you basically get to reroll all your failed to hit and to wound rolls, but it's only in the combat phase. So you can't do it on like if you're locked in combat and use it in the shooting phase. It has to be in the combat phase. It's a nice rule, but you don't, because they've got the disc, they can still hold up in melee, but they've got bows, and generally bows you want to keep away. The rule that you probably have nightmares from when you hear it is the Judgment from Afar. An unmodified hit roll of a 6 for an attack made with the Arrow of Fate inflicts D3 mortal wounds on the target and the attack sequence ends. So you just instantly suffer D3 mortal wounds if you roll an unmodified 6. Unmodified 6 is very, very good because it means that if you're suffering negative to hit penalties, it doesn't matter. It's still technically an unmodified 6. So, which is sweet. There's not much to say more on these guys than there was on the Enlightened. They're fast. They don't have as many attacks because they've only got 1 attack with the Arrow of Fate. But still, 3 attacks with a 40-inch threat range with the capability to hand out D3 mortal wounds. Failing that, D3 damage is absolutely soul-crushing. They're 200 points, so they are very, very costly. But I have them, and I like to throw them in every now and again, even without their sort of counterpart hero, which is the Shaman, which we'll go into later. But even without the hero, these models are still great fun. And the Arrow of Fate, their missile attack is still very, very good. It's up there as one of the best in the game. Not on like a hero model or a super elite unit. This is still technically like an elite version of the Zangors. And yeah, these guys are horrendous. That ranged attack is just brutal. Being able to essentially pick an enemy hero, and there's a good chance you're going to hit him with D3 mortal wounds, plus 2 D3 damage. That can, that's averaging 6 wounds. That's a lot from 40 inches away, or 24 inches, but you thought your hero was safe on the setup phase. I get to go first. I am shooting you in turn 1 from wherever I like on the board, and I'm going to be able to outrun you to just keep shooting you, so I can kite you around the board. Or I will push you away to make you not want to be near these guys, because they're just going to shoot you to death.
Yeah, and if you don't know who they are, then when they shoot you for the first time, you'll soon remember. And the reason I'd say why I really don't like them is because, like, in the game they're great. The reason why I don't like them is when I fought them, it was like first edition, and that's when there was a scenery called Damn Terrain, and there's still Damn Terrain to today, which is a random scenery effect you roll for scenery at the start of the game. And the Damn Terrain allows you to add 1 to your hit rolls that unit if they sacrifice D3 wounds to it. So essentially they take D3 mortal wounds and they get +1 to hit. Now when I fought against them, the opponent managed to sacrifice twice because there was 2 different terrains, so they got +2 to hit, and then they were doing D3 mortal wounds on 4-ups from an effective range with a movement of 40 inches. And I didn't really have much I could do to stop that, especially when the opponent actually had 27 of them.
And because they've got the demon keyword, a little spell called Reality works on them, meaning that on a 5-up casting roll, on a 2d6, when you roll a 5 or more, and it's not unbound, you roll a d6, and as long as it's not a 1, you get that many models back in the unit. So you can essentially take these guys back to full strength in one turn. It is, they can be a bit cheeky, you know. That's what got them
A bit
nerfed.
cheeky.
Yeah, that's basically what got them nerfed, because your opponent would run in, would eventually catch them, would attack them, wouldn't kill them, or would kill some of them, and then you could just fold reality back them back in, because any demon wizard can take that spell. So if you had a Lord of Change on, you were guaranteed to bring models back in that unit.
Yeah.
So they got a little bit of the bat around the head, shall we say. But they're still an effective unit.
Yeah, and like the other thing to say about them is obviously, you know, because their movement is so good that whatever you're trying to charge them down with, by the time it gets to them, you might not win the fight because of their discs.
Basically, and the fact that, you know, they can still shoot you from miles away, so you've put a unit on that objective thinking, you know, right, that's fine, my opponent can't get to them. Well, I'm afraid to say that yes, I can. There's very little that can actually outrun these guys, you know, and then if you run them, you know, you're averaging a 4 on a D6 run, you know, that's putting you up to a 20-inch move. Yeah, okay, you can't shoot, but you can still move 20 inches. That's humongous, you know.
Yeah, it's incredibly far.
It's not good when you're fighting against it and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, these guys move 16 inches. Your opponent's like, what? If they, as you say, if they've never played against them before, then they have no idea what's coming. And if they have played against them before, you can basically guarantee that either your Skyfires are going to be the first thing that gets targeted, or they're going to be ignored the entire game, because there is not a chance that they're going to actually be able to melee these guys down, because you just won't let them.
No, and the other thing to say about them is if the opponent, like I'll be like that, I'll be like, I've got to kill them. And if your opponent's just thinking about killing these guys, you might think, oh, I don't want them to die. But at the same time, they're not targeting your casters.
Exactly. And these guys can still shoot, and they can still fight in melee, so they're not totally defenseless.
No, and they're not bad in melee, like we say. And the other thing talking about Tzeentch, you know, like Tzeentch uses its hero's face to do a lot of offensive damage, especially at range. And then if you cock up your hero face, these guys can not do the job for you wizards, but, you know, maybe do the extra wounds you needed to do before combat or whatever to prevent.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been in things like, oh, we're against like an enemy hero, even if it's just something like a Lord Citizen on Dracoff, which isn't like incredibly nasty, but it's not a monster and it can put quite a bit of a punch in. However, it's only got 1 wound left. You're just taking out that threat before it comes to combat phase, because obviously Tzeentch, bar a few exceptions, doesn't excel in combat.
Exactly, yeah. And when you mix these guys in with, you know, things like pink horrors and even like big blocks of acolytes and stuff, as you say, the old sort of cheese was that you took a million of these guys and you just had a whole list of Skyfires, but that's been crippled severely. But these guys fit in any sort of Tzeentch build. Same with the Enlightened. I maybe should have mentioned that before, but the on the disc fits in any Tzeentch build, because they've sort of got the Holy Trinity. They've got excellent movement, they've got excellent punch, and they are revivable. If you combine those three things together, they are deadly, move fast and be anywhere on the board, and they can be incredibly difficult to shift. So, yeah, although they have changed a lot, definitely still a unit worth a look. Absolutely, and they're great, and they are good fun. If you're a Tzeentch player, it's great fun, because it's actually guaranteed you're actually going to do something. You know, it's not like your pink horrors where you run them into melee and there's a slight chance that they might inflict 1 wound. These guys are going to inflict a couple of wounds, and then retreat 16 inches plus D6 back, and then you can't do anything to them because they've just moved 20 inches.
Yeah, you're a bit screwed, aren't you, as the opponent?
Basically, yeah, they're a bit of a cheese unit, but they've been nerfed a lot. Like I say, they got a heavy points increase, so you can't take nearly as many. But they're still as a Tzeentch player, they're still a good unit to take. You know, the ranged power on them is very good, and as you say, it complements well with the hero phase. Being able to transition from the hero phase move stuff about the board, move these guys into 24-inch range, and basically shoot at things. Because unless it's a Kunroth Hunter, there are very few things that can actually match its range. So, and then basically, if you're within 24 inches anyway, the Kunroth Hunter's going to get to shoot you regardless. So, you know, it's an all or nothing thing. But yeah, they are a good unit. Definitely something that worth thinking about.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so then we're going to move on to the next one, which is going to be the Zangor Shaman. So we're starting to look at the heroes now, and the reason we're looking at the Zangor Shaman, surprise, surprise, is because he works quite well at the Skyfires we just looked at. So how many points is he going to cost us?
So he's 160 points, which is not too bad at all. And he basically holds the same profile as
the last two. Yeah.
As the last two, yeah. He's got the massive 16-inch move because he's on a disc. He's still got the 5-up save, 6-up bravery, but he's got 6 wounds instead of 3 or 4, basically.
And yeah, well,
you want to go weapon profiles and stuff?
Yeah,
go for
so the weapon profile. So he's got three meter weapons. The Star for Change, standard wizard attack. So it's going to be the 2-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, D3 damage. It's alright, standard wizard attack. And then the Ritual Dagger, which is a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force to hit, 3 to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. That's quite nice because a lot of wizards don't have an extra attack. And then the real thing about this guy on melee is, of course, the disc, which is going to be teeth and horns, 1-inch range, D3 attacks, force to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, D3 damage. Like we said for the last 2 units, the Enlightened and the Skyfires, when it comes to the discs with their attacks, incredibly swingy, but has a lot of damage potential.
Yeah, so because he's a single model, rather than being a unit of 3, he's not the greatest in melee combat. However, like the rest of them, he can fly. He's got the mount. It's his abilities that really sell this guy. So the first one's on the war scroll is the Sorceress Alexa. I think actually I'll mention this first. He is a wizard and can take a spell from, I think it's the lore of Fate, which is the mortals thing. So that's something to keep in mind and why this is important. Once per battle, in your hero phase, this model can attempt to cast 1 additional spell. If it does so, you can reroll 1 or both dice when you make a casting roll for that spell. Very good. So this is where the synergy comes in, and this is where your nightmares will begin to flash in front of you. So the first one is Visions of the Future. So add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with friendly Zangor Skyfires, Arrow of Fate, while they are wholly within 12 inches of the Shaman. So it wouldn't have been wholly before, but now it's wholly. So that 4-up is now a 3-up on the Skyfire bow, which is excellent. Visions of the Past, add 1 to hit rolls for Enlightened's friendly Zangor Enlightened's Ancient Spears when they're within, and Vicious Beats while they're within 12 inches of the Shaman, which is again good, making that combat unit more effective. He is a wizard. He can attempt to cast and unbind 1 spell per turn. He knows the standard too, and he also has Boon of Mutations, which is a spell that has a casting value of 7. Pick an enemy within 18, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. For each model slain, you can add 1 new Zangor model to a single friendly Zangor unit. And then we've got this sort of standard restrictions. Must be set up wholly within 12 inches of the caster and within 1 inch of the unit they're being added to, and then Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield. So,
yeah. You can see why he adds towards Skyfires.
Basically, he is a big buffing magnet. Yeah. He's horrendous. Being able to cast, so you can once per battle, being able to cast 2 spells and re-roll those dice, because bear in mind we still have Destiny dice that we have access to, meaning I can take 2 spells, guarantee their cast. I can use 1 spell to inflict damage, and then use another spell to inflict damage, and then make my Skyfires or Enlightened even more effective. But not only does he make the Skyfires and the Enlightened more effective, he also makes the Zangor battle line unit that we spoke about. He actually brings models back to them too. So if you've got stuff wholly within 12 inches of this guy, he's basically a Zangor buffing machine. He takes models that were already quite good and just makes them even better.
Yeah, he really does. So, in sort of conclusion with this guy, he is, if you're taking a lot of Zangors, in particular, Enlightened and Skyfires, take this guy. Also, he'll give you access to the Beast of Chaos spells, which they're not amazing, but you know, if you have a look at them, you think you might want to fit them into a list somehow. This guy's the way to do it. So with the keywords, he's got Chaos Score, Beast of Chaos, Brayherd, Demon, Tzeentch, Arcanite, Hero, Wizard, Zangor, Shaymin. So a little bit more than the last ones we just looked at. Okay, so then...
Yeah, so someone else to think about.
Oh, yeah?
Sorry, he also has synergy with the Acolytes because he is a wizard. And he also has synergy with the... Oh, my mind's just went blank. They get the... Wait until I go back to the word scroll. I'll see it as soon as I see it. With the Zangors, because although he gives them buffs, if a hero is close to them, they also get buffs. And because he's got the Arcanite keyword, he's got the Demon keyword, and he's got the Wizard keyword, he can benefit from the Lord of Change, he can benefit Acolytes, and he can benefit Zangors, just from their war scrolls. So he's very synergistic.
And he's not going to cost you too many in points.
160 points is reasonable for a hero that can move 16 inches. Is reasonable. If I take Skyfires, he is there. He comes every time.
Yeah.
Without fail. So, sorry, I just thought I'd throw that little thing in there.
That's fair enough. And he's a nice model as well for 20 quid.
Yes.
Okay, and going on to the next one. Is going to be the Magister. So another wizard for Tzeentch. A bit of a step down from the Shaman, but he is cheaper, isn't he? How many points is he going to cost us?
It's only 140 points.
140 points. Which is still quite expensive for wizards, as you can get a battle mage for... Obviously it's order, but a battle mage, is that 90 points?
Yeah, it's below the 100 point mark for sure.
Yeah, so this is still going to cost you a little bit more. But he gives you a little bit extra. So, he's got a 6-inch movement, 5+ save, bravery 7 and 5 wounds. He's got 2 weapons. Firstly, he's got the Meteor Weapon, which is the Tzeentchian Rune Staff, which is an 18-inch range, 1 attack, freeze hit, force to wound, no rend and D3 damage. Which is essentially a bit like a wizard attack from afar, bar the -1 rend, and it's a hit on a 3 instead of a 4, and to wound on a 4 instead of a 3. And then we've got the Meteor Weapon, which is a Warp Steel Sword, which is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force hit, force wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So, he's got a shooting attack, which is alright.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing. Might do that extra little bit of wound. And then, going into the description and abilities, why would you take this guy?
Well, I take this guy because of his magic, but he does have a nice ability, which is called Magic Touched. Magisters are attuned, blah, blah, blah. If a result of a casting roll for this model is a double, whether or not the spell is successfully cast, it can attempt to cast another. So he can cast, as standard, he can cast and unbind 1 spell. But if you roll doubles, even if the spell doesn't go off that you were trying to cast, you can attempt to cast a different spell, which is great. Because he is a mortal Arcanite wizard, he can take from the Lore of Fates, so you can give him like Bolt of Tzeentch or whatever. So you can actually load this guy up with spells, which means he generates fate points, or can generate fate points quite quickly. The reason that I take him is because of his innate spell, which is the Bolt of Change. It casts on a 7, has an 18-inch range. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Now this is the bit. If any models were slain by this spell, before removing the first slain model, you can add a Tzeentch Chaos Spawn to your army and set it up within 3 inches of that slain model's unit. Not the slain model, the slain model's unit. You get a free 50-point model on a cast that you can guarantee goes off. And you can guarantee his doubles. So you could cast that and then cast Bolt of Change and do D6 mortal wounds. I love this guy. He's super underrated because he's not, like, D3 mortal wounds, not that great. It's not, let's be honest. You've got basically a 50% chance of killing off a Liberator, you know, or, well, 66% chance of being able to just instantly kill off like a Liberator. But it's not that you've killed the Liberator. This spell is a win-win. And it's very rare in this game to get spells that are just straight up win-wins. So not only do you inflict damage, you also gain a fate point. And if you inflict essentially the killing blow on any model, I'm looking at you, Skeletons, I get to drop a 50-point model within your combat range, which means I've also pulled you into combat, meaning that you can't do anything next turn. That unit will stand there like a lemon, and I can still cast spells at it because there's no rules to say I can't cast when you're in combat. So I love that spell. And for 140 points, if you get that off twice, which oftentimes you get it off 3 times, that's between 100 and 150 points of Chaos Spawn that you got for nothing. Literally nothing. It costs you nothing. You can spend Destiny dice to guarantee that it goes off. If you drop it on any 1 wound model, so I'm also looking at you, Namarti Thralls and Reavers, you know, that come popping out of nowhere and mess up my day, I can drop a Chaos Spawn which instantly stops them from doing things. It's a very, very good spell. Very good spell.
It is good. And just a little thing, because obviously this guy casts a double, he can try to cast another spell. Is it worth putting cogs next to him, or is that just trying to invest too much into?
Yeah, it's a little too much because the cogs. It's not so much that the cogs don't work for him because he's a caster. Yeah, he gets that bonus, but you're probably better off keeping your cogs for something like, you know, your bigger casters, so your Gaunt Summoners or your Lord of Change. You know, the guys that you need to do the work with.
Yeah.
But when this goes off, when this spell goes off, and you, especially on like turn 2, when your opponents start to pull all the lines, so your lines have met in turn 1, or maybe sort of about to meet in turn 2, if you've had a sort of slow game, being able to just straight up stop your opponent's units from moving or shooting at anything else is excellent. Yes, they can still be cast at and stuff when your opponent gets to go, but if you get the double turn, you know, if you're turn 2, if you're on turn 1, you're going second, and turn 2 you go first, you've already got something in combat. And you can chuck another one into that same unit because you can just cast the spell again.
Yeah, and with this spell, I mean, cast of A7 does seem quite high, but obviously you can just use a 4 and 3 from your Destiny pool, and they're not particularly useful for too much other things.
What I like to do is use like a 4 and a 4.
Yeah, and then you just get
the
the extra
double,
spell, don't you?
And then I cast Mystic Shield onto that Chaos Spawn. Just because it lets them reroll save rolls of 1.
Yeah.
Not that you have to take save anyway, but your opponent is going to try and get rid of that Chaos Spawn very, very quickly, because although they're very swingy, if they hit, they can hit like trucks.
Especially against hordes and things, aren't they?
Yes.
2d6 attacks, isn't it?
Yes, which can be, you know, I have had it where I have rolled like a 5 and a 4. That's horrendous. 9 attacks. It's horrendous, you know. And then just making them reroll save rolls of 1 could just be that reason that he stays alive for that extra turn, which is always nice. And it gives you another fate point.
Yeah, and then you can just cast the spell again, can't you?
Basically, yeah. So, yeah. So you can... This guy has... Although he's not great at outputting mortal wounds, that's not what you're taking him for. You're taking him for the fact that you can suck up board space by dropping spawns. Remember, you could drop a spawn at the back of that unit. It doesn't say that it has to be within 18 inches of the caster. It's just the unit has to be within 18 inches of the caster. So if you're clipping a model, you cast that spell, you kill them, they pull a model off, you could actually drag 2 of your opponent's units into that.
Yeah, it's a lot of range at that point, isn't it?
You're not really worried about if the Chaos Spawn lives or dies. The point is that your opponent has had to stand there and deal with it for a turn. And it's cost you nothing. because you are going to cast spells anyway. So that, like I say, that spell is just a win-win. One caveat I will say is, although he's got a missile attack, and he does have a melee attack, he is a wizard, and will essentially die to a strong breeze in combat. So don't let him get in combat. Run him away. Keep him out of combat range. Well, bear in mind, he is a wizard, and he is an Arcanite. So again, he triggers the Zangors and the Acolytes. Like, it's not a locust, but it's essentially the same idea. If they're within X amount of distance of a hero unit, they get some kind of bonus. So he can still trigger those bonuses.
He's a nifty little wizard, isn't he?
Yes, he's great. And 140 points, although yes, it is expensive, you can get 100 points worth of free models on the table. So,
and in the other armies, where I would say, yeah, but it's situational to get that spell off. It's not always guaranteed, and this, not, and the other. If you've got the dice in your Destiny pool,
if you need to stop that unit from charging, you can do it by making the spell go off, and then putting a chaos spawn right in front of them.
Yeah, and like the ability, it says like, roll the double to cast. You can cast another spell. Think, that's cool, but realistically, how often is that going to go off? Again, if you've got the dice,
and it's not that you're not banking on that either. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's just you'll probably find that whatever spell you've given him from the Lore of Fate is probably better spent on a different model casting it. So really, you're only going to use Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield. It's nice if it happens, but it's not. It doesn't make him useless if it doesn't happen. If you know what I mean.
Exactly. It's just like a nice little treat if it does.
Basically, yeah. If you get lucky, if Tzeentch wills it.
Yeah, as is planned. Always, isn't it? Right. So he's got keywords. He's got Chaos, Mortal, Tzeentch, Arcanite, Hero, Wizard, and Magister. And then we're going to look at the next one, which is a bit bigger. This is going to be the Ogroid Firmitage. I believe that's pronounced correct.
That's him. That's how I see it anyway.
Yep, he's the guy from Silver Tower, and obviously that was many years ago, so he can be bought separately now, can't he? I'm sure he can. Yeah,
yes, yeah, he can. Yeah,
I'm asking if he can be bought separately, and I'm looking at his page on the Games Workshop website. So there you go. Very tired. Right, so going into his War Scroll, how many points is he going to cost us?
He's 170 points.
So only 30 points more than the Magister.
Yes.
And looking at his, naturally, his stats are going to be better than the Magister, but there's obviously different things involved. So looking at his will stats, he's got a 6-inch movement, a 5+ save, bravery 8, and 8 wounds. He's then going on to his melee weapons. He's got the Firmitage Staff, which is a 2-inch range, 2 attacks, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, -1 rend, D3 damage. He's got the Great Horns, which is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, -2 rend, and 3 damage. And then he's got the Cloven Hooves, which is a 1-inch range, force to hit, 1-inch range, 4 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So, not a bad little wizard.
He's a very, very good little wizard. He's also very, very odd because his abilities, and I think I'll give you the abilities first, and then you will maybe see why he is odd. So his first ability is called Brutal Rage. If this model has suffered 5 or more wounds, add 1 to all of its hit rolls, but subtract 1 from all of its casting and unbinding rolls. And in brackets, healing wounds may mean the Thaumaturge ceases to be enraged. Next rule, Mighty Bulk. After it completes a charge move, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch, suffers D3 mortal wounds. Excellent. His last one is Overwhelming Power. He heals 1 wound in each of his hero phases. So, when you look at his profile, and when you read his abilities, he is essentially a combat hero. That's what you take him for. He is a combat monster. Now, he is immortal, so he can take 1 spell from the Lore of Fates, and because it's late at night, my brain has failed me, and I cannot remember what spell it is, but essentially you can give him a spell, I think it's Infusion Arcanum, and it gives him +1 to hit and +1 to wound, which means your staff, or those horns that have -2 rend and 3 damage, can hit on 2s and wound on 2s, which is horrendous. Horrendous. That 3 damage is actually quite good. It's underrated, but it is very, very good. He's also a wizard and can attempt to cast and unbind one spell per turn. He knows the 2 standard ones, and he also knows Fire Blast, which is another fun spell. Casting value is 7, 18-inch range. Enemy unit suffers D6 mortal wounds, which is very good. Same damage, I just want to point out, as the Bolt of Tzeentch, and the Bolt of Tzeentch costs 1 more to cast. After damage has been inflicted, you can set up 1 unit of Brimstone Horrors within 1 inch of the target, equal to the number of mortal wounds inflicted. So even if you only deal 2 wounds and it doesn't kill anything, you still get to set up 2 Brimstone Horrors now within range, basically in combat with that unit. Now Brimstone Horrors, I'm not going to lie, are mints. They're not very good. What they are good at is being a tar pit. So you can guarantee that this spell's going to go off with Destiny Dice. You're going to do D6 mortal wounds. Now, even against a hero, that is good. Hitting somebody with D6 mortal wounds and then setting up, so even if, let's say you roll a 6, but it doesn't kill, you've maybe got, I don't know, like a Dracoth hero, they've got more than 6 wounds, I'm sure, I can't remember now. So it doesn't kill the model outright. However, you then get to set up 6 Brimstone Horrors in close combat with that unit, meaning that it can't move. You can circle it and stop it from moving, stop it from fleeing. It has to fight you. And you've basically locked it in place. I love his spell. It's just like the Magister. Okay, points-wise, you're not getting the same value for points from the Fire Blast attack, but it doesn't matter. You're getting 3 models. You're doing D6 mortal wounds. Super, super efficient. It is like the Magister in the sense of that you are getting something for doing what you were going to do anyway, which is cast spells, generate fate points, inflict damage, which is excellent. Not only that, you can actually chuck him into close combat. You can run him up with, again, because of his keywords, Zangors.
He's one of the few heroes that Tzeentch has that he can and would run up into combat, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's probably really the only one I would, maybe next to the Curseling, that I would run up into close combat. But he's very effective in close combat because he basically, the more damage he gets, the more effective he becomes at hitting your opponent. So if your opponent gets him down to 3 wounds, because they have to inflict 5, so the 5 would take his 8 to 3. You get to attack back with +1 to hit. And then in your hero phase, where you would suffer the penalty of having to subtract 1, you would actually gain a wound back. That would put you back up to 4, so you would still get to cast everything on a 7. So he's very, very good. He's very, very good. He's funny. He's like he doesn't fit in a Tzeentch army. Like thematically, he's like mentally he doesn't fit into what Tzeentch is good at. He is a good spellcaster and his spell is very effective. But he's a melee beast. He's a melee combat monster. He's got a 5-up save, which isn't great, but he's got a 6-inch move, so he can keep up with your Acolytes, which he can buff because he has the Arcanite keyword. Because he's got the Wizard keyword, and he can buff your Zangors because he's got the I think it's the Arcanite keyword. So it's like, wait a minute here. He is also an excellent unit to send up with your battle line. Throw out mortal wounds, target your opponent with chucking out Brimstone Horrors that they have to deal with, because if they're in combat with them, they have to shoot at them if they're the closest unit, or they have to just stand there and wait until the combat phase and then they just kill them off. But you've tied your opponent up for a turn. Very good hero. Really, really like the Thermitage, and he's an excellent model. He's really imposing. Beautiful model.
He really is. He almost reminds me of a bit like a Tzeentch Demon Prince in sort of size and scale. And
yeah, and again, like when he's on the table in a Tzeentch army, you really notice him because he's quite hefty, like he's got a lot of mass. So But yeah, that Fire Blast spell's horrendous. D6 mortal wounds is great as it is. You know, nobody likes to be hit with D6 mortal wounds. The fact that I get to set up models for every wound inflicted, not model slain, is excellent. You know, I could potentially set up, 6 brimstones. I'm going to average it out and say I get 3 or 4. It doesn't matter. I've just locked you in combat.
Yeah.
You've got to waste your turn dealing with those brimstones while my guys move about the board unimpeded.
And you can tie them up. We can tie up monsters and stuff. You can also tie up things like Keepers of Secrets, because obviously the Keeper of Secrets can pile and attack twice. However, if let's say you've charged Keeper of Secrets with something just to tie it down for a turn, the Keeper of Secrets is going to pile in and kill you. But if you've managed to get this spell off and put a few brimstones next to the Keeper of Secrets is going to pile in again and kill those brimstones, no problem at all. But they spent a command point to do it.
Yep.
Or they don't have to, and they could retreat the next turn and not be able to charge.
But they're going backwards then, so they're getting further away from what they want to be doing.
Exactly, and if you can, obviously that's a very specific situation, but if you can get yourself into a situation where your opponent has to make a decision like that, that spell has made its value.
Well, between
isn't it?
Between the Thaumaturge or whatever and the Magister, you can do a lot of essentially that's like D9, essentially mortal wounds between the two of them. If you kill something with the Magister with this spell, you get a free Chaos Spawn, and just if you inflict damage with the Ogroid, you're going to get free Brimstone Horrors. So those two wizards are very points efficient. Being able to set up units essentially in place of where your opponent's models were is hyper efficient. You're not, that is a straight up a plus. You're essentially +1 on that trade because you've lost nothing, it's cost you nothing. Even if you spend Destiny dice, they're still free. You know, they're not costing you anything. There's no sacrifice or penalty to using them. You're gaining fate points, and then you're gaining free models. Even if you only do 1 wound with the Ogroid, it's still a Brimstone Horror that has now locked that unit of, Judicators, is that the guys with the boat or Castigators, into close combat where they don't want to be.
Exactly.
So they can't move because the only move they can do is retreat. So they have to spend their shooting phase shooting at that Brimstone Horror. That one Brimstone Horror has cost them their whole shooting phase. And then next turn, guess what? I'm going to do it again because I'm going to use my Destiny dice to guarantee that it goes off.
Yeah.
And all the while, this guy is going to be barreling up the field, basically wanting to get into close combat with you and actually hit you. So yeah, love the Ogroid. He's like the Magister, he's very points efficient. It seems on the offset, like most of Tzeentch's things, that the models are expensive point-wise, but as the game goes on, you're one of the few armies that essentially takes your opponent's models and turns them into your own models. So, big thumbs up, definitely worth a take.
Yeah, and just one more thing before we go on to the keywords I want to say is, obviously here's a mighty bulk, you don't even have to roll to do D3 mortal wounds to the enemy, you just pick an enemy unit within 1 inch when he makes a charge.
Yep.
If I could read to you from the War Scroll of the Vorgorath the Scarred and Scarlock the Skull Host of Khorne, which is the nearly £400 dragon from Forward World and costs 1200 points. His crushing bulk ability, his charging ability, is roll a dice for each enemy unit, say. You get to roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1 inch of him when he makes a charge roll. So, admittedly, you're probably going to be in range of multiple units, but you've got to roll dice. When you do so on a free up, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So the reason I bring this up is what I'm trying to say is this guy's mighty bulk is apparently more impacting than a god beast charging into you. But that's fine. I just wanted to mention that.
You're
that
not
still
better.
annoys me.
You're not better at all, are you?
Why does it need to roll? How was the... Oh, I was hiding behind a rock before it charged into me. Well, that saved me. It's like a nuclear bomb going off and standing behind a brick wall and going, well, this is going to save me. Anyway, going into this guy's keywords, he's got this guy, not the corn dragon. He's got keywords Chaos, Mortal, Tzeentch, Arcanite, Hero, Wizard, Ongroid, Fermentide. There's something else to mention that we've already talked about. Tzeentch, sometimes some things look like they should be demons, but they're not. This is a guy who looks quite demonic and does not have the demon keyword. So going on to...
God doesn't have the Beast of Chaos keyword. I also want to point that out.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though he does look like he should fit into either demons or Beasts of Chaos, he holds neither.
Yep. Because, well, he's a Minotaur, really, isn't he? But he's not a Minotaur. Or maybe he's a Minotaur but not a Bulgur. One of the two. Right, okay, and then going into the next one, and this is probably the latest model to come out for Tzeentch, and this has got to be the Fate Master. So, how many points is it going to cost us?
The Fate Master is, until I find him, because he's not somebody that I ever actually use. So he's actually very cheap. The Fate Master is 120 points.
20 points cheaper than the Magister. Okay. So, what are we going to get for this hero? Okay. So, he's got a 16-inch movement because he's on a disc. Very good movement.
Yes.
4+ save. Probably the best. What did the Ongroid have? They have a 4+.
It was a 5+.
Yeah, so the best save we've seen so far. 8 bravery and 6 wounds. 6 wounds as well. It's not bad. Okay, so going into the melee weapons, he has got the Fire Glaive of Tzeentch, which is 2-inch range for 3 attacks, freeze hit, force wound, no rend, D3 damage, and then the Disc of Tzeentch, protecting blades, 1-inch range, D3 attacks, force hit, force wound, no rend, 1 damage. Something very important to note about this is when the Disc of Tzeentch is attacking with protruding blades, obviously they're not quite as sharp as the teeth and horns, because for some reason they lose their -1 rend and their D3 damage. Which is a little bit like, did they just forget to update this one?
No, it's because it's meant to be, it's not so much that the blade's alive, it's not so much that the disc's alive, because you'll notice...
It's made out of flames and stuff.
It's blades, it's protruding blades rather than teeth, like teeth and horns. It's protruding.
Oh, right, yeah, got you.
So, I agree. They should just rewrite it so the disc is the same as all the other discs in the game.
Gives you the same movement.
Yeah, so this guy's cheap, so 120 points is very cheap for great movement. Is he can fly, because he's got the disc. His first ability is the Soulbound Shield. If this model suffers any wound or mortal wounds as the result of a spell, roll a dice. 4 or higher, the wounds are ignored. So he's got some innate magic protection. His next rule is a very good rule. Hovering Disc of Tzeentch. Add 2 to the result of any save rolls for this model in the combat phase unless the attacker can fly. So if you're fighting against someone that doesn't fly, he's got a 2-up save. If they don't have any rend. Command abilities, which is something that there's something missing here, but we're going to go back to that. It's got the Lord of Fate. If the Fate Master uses his ability, roll a dice. Until your next hero phase, anytime you make a dice roll for this model or a Tzeentch mortal unit within 9 inches, and the result matches the dice that you rolled, you can choose to re-roll it. So if you roll like a 2, it can be good. Not great if you roll a 6, because you don't want to re-roll it. You may re-roll it. You have to. Oh, sorry, what was that, Paul?
Battleshock tests.
Battleshock tests, yeah. So
because your Arcanites aren't very good.
There are uses for it, but 9 inches is quite a small bubble. Oh, yeah. There is something to think about. It's when it says when you make a dice roll. It doesn't specify a save or a to hit or a to wound. So mortal covers most of the heroes or all of the heroes that we've spoken about, meaning that heroes can benefit from this. The thing that is glaringly missing, he has no magic.
Yes. He's only 120 points. I mean,
But I don't personally. It doesn't really add to the army.
no.
Yes, he's got 4-up save. Yes, he's got 6 wounds and he's got a fantastic movement. But okay, yes, the Acolytes and the Zangors can benefit from his keywords because the Acolytes can't because he's not a Tzeentch wizard. So the Zangors can benefit from his keyword because he's an Arcanite hero. But 120 points, are you going to take him over a Shaman? No. Because for 40 more points, your Shaman can dish out mortal wounds and synergizes better. Don't get us wrong, having a 4-up ignore against wounds when it comes to spell damage is great, but it's only great if you're going up against an army that can cast spells. The hovering disc is great, but only if your opponent doesn't charge you with something that flies. And the Lord of Fate command ability, it's going to cost you a command point, first and foremost. And basically you only get to reroll dice, and it's up to random chance. So, personally, I would usually give this guy a...
What I'd say, though...
If he was a spellcaster and had a wizard keyword...
Yes, if he had that...
I think if he had that, different.
But also, would you say that you, as a person, are dedicated to Tzeentch, would you say, when it comes to Chaos?
He's cool. Yeah, he's nice. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, like, so hear me out. So, as a person, would you say that you're dedicated to Tzeentch?
Yes.
Would you say you're mortal?
Yes.
Would this let you re-roll the priority roll?
Ooh. What, the Lord of Fate?
Yeah, because you're mortal, Tzeentch. You're a Tzeentch mortal. If you're within 9 inches of him, you may have to tiptoe on the table to get this done. But on that priority roll, can you re-roll it?
No, because you're rolling it in the hero phase. You roll the dice in the hero phase. So, no. I don't think it can use it that way. Somebody might stand to correct me, but I don't think you can use it that way.
Until your next hero phase.
Because it's a mortal unit within 9 inches. It's not just on the board. The unit doesn't roll the dice for the priority.
No, but I'm saying you roll the dice because you're a Tzeentch mortal follower.
Aye. I can't lie on the table and be like, right, I'm getting to re-roll ones.
You got to put the effort in if you want to win. That's what I'm saying.
I don't have a keyword, okay, super glued to my back.
Tattooed to your forehead. Right. Okay, so he has the Chaos Mortal, Demon, Tzeentch, and Arcanite, Hero, Fate Master keywords. He's all right. If you're taking a load of mortals in your army and you have this guy, see what he does.
Yeah,
I'd say.
I personally haven't used him because he's not a wizard, and that's why I'm taking Tzeentch. He just feels like he would be better in a Slaanesh army. He's fast, and he can make things reroll stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But
the next one we're going to look at is going to be more worth note-taking, shall we say. So this is going to be, you may have heard of him, Kurslin, Eye of Tzeentch. So we've got him. Does he ring any bells?
Yeah, oh yes. So, I have him. He's looking at me on my shelf right now.
There we go. Now, looking at his standard stats. Now, believe me, this is not why you take this guy, but I'll go through them anyway. So he's got a 5-inch movement. He's got a 4+ save, bravery 7, and 5 wounds. Meteor weapons, he's got 3. So he's got the blazing sword, 1-inch range, 3 attacks, 3 hit, force wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. The Threshing Flail, so it's a 1-inch range, 3 attacks, force hit, 3 wound, no rend, 1 damage. And then the Staff of Tzeentch, which is a 2-inch range, 1 attack, 5 to hit, force wound, no rend, and D3 damage. So before you go into everything this guy does, how many points is he going to cost us again?
So he's 160. He's 160 points.
Is he unique? Is he a character?
No.
No.
No, he is not. He can be, if you take him as a general and such, you can give him command traits and you can give him artifacts and stuff. So no. He used to be called, sort of a nitpick, is Village. He used to be called, I think it was Village. This is probably one of the most infuriating for your opponent models that you can take. basically, he is a melee hero. He has an excellent, like the blazing sword and the flail can get work done. They're not the best, but against elite units or heroes, they can do work. Not very much use on against the horde, but you're right. You're not taking him for that. You're taking him for his abilities. And his first ability is the Vessel of Chaos, which is horrible. Each time the Curseling or a Curseling successfully unbinds an enemy spell, he can immediately attempt to cast it himself, even though it's your opponent's hero phase. If this spell is a cast, your opponent cannot attempt to unbind it. Horrendous. And it gets better. So, he is a wizard, so he has magic. He can attempt to cast 2 spells and an attempt to unbind 2 spells in your enemy hero phase. He knows the 2 generic spells and has his own spell, which is Glean Magic, which is beautiful. Casting value of 3, so mega cheap. Pick an enemy wizard within 24 inches, choose one of the spells from their war scroll and roll 2 dice. If the result is equal to or greater than the casting value of that spell, he learns it and can use it for the rest of the game. So, this guy is the bane of all spellcasting armies, bar none. There is nothing else in the game that is more infuriating than when you unbind Nagash or Arcan's I'm going to make it dead spell and then throw it right back at them, and then in your hero phase you glean magic, you learn that spell, and then you can immediately cast it because you can cast 2 spells.
So let me tell you a story. When I was at a tournament on my last game, I fought against Tzeentch army, and I fought against this guy for the first time. Nagash, with his +3 casting, casted Curseus on the worst dice he's ever rolled in his life. The Curseling unbinds it, and then jumping to the end of the story, my unit of 4 Morgoth Archai are no longer there. Yep, and that's all you really need to know about this story.
Basically,
in that game, he made himself worth 480 points.
Yes. So, however,
440 points, whatever it was still worth what he did.
Basically, however, the Curseling is a funny bag. From his profile, he has no innate offensive magic. He can only steal your opponent's magic. Where does this fall flat? This falls flat when your opponent doesn't have any spellcasters. So if you're going up against a Khorne army, for example, this guy is absolutely dead in the water. Is useless. Yes, you can still cast Glean Magic, and you can still gain the fate point from it, because again, we've had this conversation, you don't need to actually make this spell do anything. You get a fate point when it's successfully cast. So it doesn't matter if you don't target anything with it, you still get the fate point.
And when they say cast and value 3, it basically just means that you cast this.
Yeah, so this, he would be more useful if it just said pick any wizard. So you could like target your Gaunt Summoner or your Lord of Change, and you could learn their spells, because it would make him offensive, but sadly it's only enemy wizards. So if you're fighting an army that has any kind of spell casting, not only can you shut it down, you can target it back, which meant a lot of the war scrolls for other spellcasters, such as the Skink Star Priest, got rewritten because of this spell. It makes him very effective at being a pain and being a nightmare. So if your opponent tries to debuff you, you can shut down their debuff and then debuff them. So Andy can't do anything about it. So they can't even attempt to stop you from doing it. They've basically given you a free spell, which also generates you a fate point in your opponent's turn. So like I said, even an Arcane Bolt, it's not that great. It doesn't do that much. The fact that he can unbind it, because bear in mind, unbinding is a 30-inch range, you can essentially shut down your opponent's spell and then throw it back at them. It makes, when If your opponent's got a spellcasting army and they see this guy on the table, you make no mistake that they're gunning for him. Because being able to steal magic at a 24-inch range and then throw magic back at a 24-inch range is horrendous. Horrendous.
Yeah. And would you say this guy is almost an auto-include?
No, he's not an auto-include, no. But he's very, very good. And, okay, I know a lot of the things that we talk about are very general, but if you're playing in your local meta, and you're playing against essentially Fire Slayers all the time, or Stormcast, you're not really going to get your mileage from this guy. Even if they've got like one spellcaster, being able to steal one spell, throwing it back at the enemy, you're not usually going to make your points back. But as you've experienced, if you're playing against like Legions and Nagash, horrendous. Or like Legion of Sacrament or something where the spells are very, very offensive, and when they go off are horrendous. You know, I hate being against Arcan, and you know he gets that as a Hand of Dust, and you roll 9 dice.
The Curse of Years, yeah, you roll 10 dice.
That's it. Yeah. Curse, sorry, yeah, and it just rakes out mortal wounds. Being able to stop that and then throw it back at you is horrendous. I've seen it delete hordes of skeletons. You know,
it's deleted my 4 Morgoth unit.
Yeah.
So something I would find hilarious is if this guy ever finds himself within 3 inches of Nagash, and Nagash was to do Curse of Years against him, or this guy was next to a spell portal and Nagash was casting it through, and this guy managed to unbind it and did it back in Nagash. That would just be hilarious.
Because something to think about, although Nagash gets +3 to his casting, Nagash does not have Destiny dice.
Nope.
So if you really, really want to unbind something, you can just throw Destiny dice at it. Especially if the opponent just managed to cast it. You know, if it's a 5-up and they manage to get like a 5, you can just chuck a 5 down as a Destiny dice, and that's you guaranteed the unbind, because you need to roll greater, but you can only roll a minimum of 1, so your lowest you're going to roll is a 6. So you can automatically unbind things, meaning you can automatically throw it back at your opponent. So, good fun. Again, I think he's meta-dependent, but he's someone to try. Definitely someone you should try. If you don't own him, I own him, like I say, I own him. Love his model, he's a nice model. Sadly, he's resin. Come on, Games Workshop. What are you doing? Get him plastic. But he's a very good model, and that unbind ability is dangerous. So, I think that's really all we can say on him.
Yeah, I believe so. And £15 is not an expensive model.
No.
Cool. And then the next one we're going to look at something that you may not have really seen before, and this is because they are the Shadespire, or the Warhammer Underworld's warband that the Tzeentch Arcanite have, which I'm sure Martin's written down loads of good notes to talk about these guys. I'm sure they are very competitive. And we're going to look at their war scrolls. So how many points are they going to cost us?
So, Vortimus is a funny...
You take him as the... You get
basically... They're 220 points, but it's a squad. You buy the squad. So...
And they're unique as well, aren't they?
Yes. So... They can't benefit from things like... Not that they really would.
It's just Vortimus himself, isn't it? Vortimus, that would benefit from anything.
Yes. And he's a named hero, so he doesn't get to take command traits. He doesn't get to take artifacts or anything like that. He's essentially just a hero who has a name.
Nice model, though.
Very nice model. However, I wouldn't touch this unit with a 10-foot barge pole. They're not good. They're just not good. 220 points is a hell of a point sink.
Yeah, it's not even that cheap. Like some of the other war bands from from Shadespire are, you know, they're crap, but at least they're cheap. For this one, it's like...
Yeah, they're like 80. I think Garrick's Reavers is like 80 points or something. If you've got 80 points and you're new to the game, and you need to fill a hole, great. But 220 points, I could. No, they're not good. They get a Zangor in the unit. They get 2 Acolytes, a Blue Horror and Brimstone Horror. They're just not good. They're just no. Vortimus's ability as well is not great. He's got a spell that casts on I think it's a 5. And
it's a 5.
If it goes off, you get an extra command point, which sounds great. But you can only spend it on at the double, forward to victory, or inspiring presence. So the 3 generic.
Or you could not take this guy and have 1 extra command point, as well as 170 other points.
So you could take an Ogroid or a Magister and take an extra command point.
Yeah.
That you can spend on anything, and you can do damage and magic. And no, he's just
no.
It's just no. Yeah, I'm sad. It's sad because the Vortimus, I think, is a really nice model. It's really unique. There's not anything like him in the rest of the army. Okay, his Eyes a 9 squad is very generic.
Yeah, but he's like an Acolyte crossed with a.
He's like
demon Tzeentch, isn't it? Or
like
Zangor.
Like a Zangory, Acolyte monster. He's like a dieted down Ogroid.
And the Acolytes you get in the set are quite nice as well.
Yeah, I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. If you bought the set, then you know.
To be honest, if you bought the set and you're looking to do a Tzeentch army, what I would do is, well, you can make the Zangor the leader of a Zangor unit. You can make Vortimus, what was his name again? Vortimus. If you can make him the leader of an Acolyte unit, and then just have the other Acolytes in for.
Or you could sub him in. You know, you could proxy him for like a Magister.
Oh yeah, Yeah, exactly. Use him as a Magister.
He's very similar, you know, or like a Curseling. You know, he's still very fluffy and he looks very nice. And I don't think anybody would ever have a problem with that. I mean, I certainly wouldn't. If somebody dropped him on the table and said, "Look, I want to try a Magister, but I don't really want to buy the model, or I don't like the model. Is it okay if we use Vortimus?" Yes, because he's so unique. You know, there's not 3 of them on the table. He's a very unique model. So, yeah. Otherwise, avoid.
Yeah.
Like the plague, avoid.
Okay, and then moving on to the next one. It's going to be a bit different. This is what we said at the start of the video. We're going to look at a couple of units worth of note, which are available to the Disciples of Tzeentch on the mortal side, but it's not always taken and you have to go outside the book to find them. So what we got here for the first one is going to be Chaos Warriors, and they are going to cost you 80 points for 5. No, 90. Is it 90 points for 5? How many is it?
It is, until I remember, because brain, 90 points.
90 points. There we go.
Battle line.
Battle line, taking maximum units of 30. No discount there, but it's just you can do it to really piss off your opponent. And they've got to summarize. We'll go for the war scroll, but to summarize it, essentially what we got here is Tzeentch is not a very tough army in the means of hasn't got the best saves. It's not the most durable. These guys can fill that gap.
Yes.
So to look at their stats, we've got a 5-inch movement, a 4+ save, a bravery 6, and 2 wounds. Meteor weapons. So you only be picking one of these depending on how you build these guys. We've got the Chaos Hand Weapon, which are 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 3 to hit, 4 to wound, no rend, 1 damage. The Chaos Hellbird, which is a 2-inch range, 2 attacks, 4 to hit, 4 to wound, no rend, 1 damage. Then the Chaos Great Blade, which is a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, and 1 damage. Something to note there is that some of these weapon options I don't know are available anymore in the Games Workshop web store, so you'd have to be a little bit creative. So what are your thoughts there, mate, going into all the abilities and whatnot?
I like Chaos Warriors. As you said, they kind of plug a gap, but they only plug the gap if you take the hand weapon and a shield. So really, always take a shield. Always take the shield. The shield gives them a 5-up mortal wound protection save, which just makes them more durable. The battle line, 90 points for 5. They're actually very good at, like, If you find that you're getting sort of charged first turn a lot and you're struggling to defend against that, these are the guys to stop that from happening. Well, not stop it from happening, but essentially take the sting out of it. What I like to do with these guys is, okay, I play demons, but I like to put these guys next to like my Gaunt Summoner, because they can keep up with him, first and foremost. And secondly, if you put sort of, not wrap him, but sort of like eclipse him, what it means is if your opponent tries to drop him from the back of the table, you know, these guys are going to prevent it happening. Or walk these guys up to an objective and just sit them there, because your opponent is not going to be able to cast spells to get them off it, because you've got a 5-up save against it. And if they try to shoot you, you've got a 4-up save. And if they try to melee you, you've still got a 4-up save. So, yeah, they're okay. They're okay. I mean,
cheap outline.
Because Tzeentch heroes don't like have like aura abilities that give +1 to save to mortal units and stuff like that. Heroes don't buff them like what they do in other chaos keyword armies. So like Khorne gives them better attacking abilities, and they get to, and if they're Nurgle, they get to benefit from the cycle of corruption stuff, and other keyword synergies that are going on there. Whereas Tzeentch, they're almost like a standalone unit, but they still have access to Destiny dice, so you can still make it so they pass those saves when you need them to. They can still sit on an objective, and they're so hard to shift. And the fact that you can take 90 for 5, I think when you compare these guys sort of to Acolytes, which is 80 points for 10, it's very difficult to compare them. Because although they've got a similar bravery stat, these guys have got 2 wounds. They've got a better save, and they've got a better mortal wound save than the Acolytes do. But they don't have a ranged attack, and they don't have the same board presence. So it can be hard to decide which one of the two to take. And I think it comes down to what you find yourself playing against more. If you're getting alpha striked a lot, you know, especially by things like eels, these guys can sort of weather that storm better than any other battle line unit you can bring to the field. So I wouldn't give these guys a pass. If you've got some of them, try them. Try them in your local meta. Give them a bash. The fact that it's not the fact that you can buff them, but the fact that, you know, your heroes are chucking out spells. These guys are essentially make excellent bodyguards for your soft, squishy heroes. That Magister that we talked about, bubble wrap the Magister with these guys. You'll get the Lookout Sir if they try to shoot him, and they've got to try and charge through them to sort of inflict any damage. So they're definitely not to be scoffed at, but I wouldn't take a big block of 30. I don't feel like you're going to get the benefit from it, and it's like 480 points. So, but yeah, also I notice if you run somebody like Archaon, these are also very good to kind of take with him. Although he can outpace them, you can use these guys to sort of stop backfield deep striking from happening, because they can just really be a pain in the backside. So yeah, I wouldn't give them a miss. I would not give them a miss. I have tried to run them before. They've kind of done okay, but I don't think I used them in the right situation, because they don't follow the same ethos that the rest of my army follows, you know, which is I essentially want them to die. But yeah, they're good. They're decent. They're decent. I don't knock them. Definitely don't knock them. They can be surprising. Your opponent will definitely underestimate their survivability. Definitely.
Yeah, and I was going to say that they can be a cheap battle line option for you each. Well, isn't always a plentiful.
Yes. Yep.
And yeah, they're, you know, what people say, like they're the chaos version of Liberators, and you know they're better than Liberators. So there is that. Yeah, they're a nice unit. Take them in nice small numbers as well. Okay, yes. And then moving on to the next unit we're going to look at. This is going to be Chaos Knights. So how many points are they going to cost us?
Chaos Knights, I think it's 160 points for 5. Hang on, I'll just double check that. Yeah, 160 points for 5.
Yeah, there we go. So 160 points for 5. So not cheap, but let's see what we're gonna get. So looking at the will stats, we've got a 10-inch movement, a 4+ save, a bravery 7, and 3 wounds. Looking at the meter weapons, we've got Enscrolled Weapons, which is a 1-inch range, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, force wound, no render, 1 damage. We've then got the Chaos Glaive, which is the other alternative you can take, which is the 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force hit, freeze wound, no rend, 1 damage. And then the War Steed's Rough Shod Hooves, which is 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force hit, force wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So we'll go into it later and everything now, but the Chaos Glaives, in my opinion, are the best for the charges, especially in each where you can almost guarantee the charges. However, only a 1-inch range, which still annoys me.
Yeah, still doesn't make any sense.
It's about 3 inches long.
So, yeah, so you made a fair statement straight off the bat. They're 160 points, which can be quite costly. However, the ensorcelled weapons, it's okay. 3 attacks is decent, and 3s to hit, force to wound is fine. It's the Chaos Glaive on the charge that makes these guys good. So why these guys are more considered than Tzeentch, or I consider them in Tzeentch, is one, because I love the models. They're some of my favourite models that Games Workshop have ever made. They're older kits, and they still hold up well now. But what these guys have that Tzeentch doesn't have is these guys still have the Rune Shield, and they still got the 4-up save. So these guys have got survivability. Now, I know that my Zangors, for example, the Enlightened or the Skyfires, have got a 16-inch move. But a 10-inch move is still okay. And 3 wounds is still decent. The 7 Bravery is not going to come into it very often. If you've got the standard bearer in the unit, it's actually an 8 Bravery instead of a 7, because it adds +1. And the Hornblower that you can take in the unit adds 1 to run and charge rolls, which just makes them a bit more effective. They've got they've also got a thing where they've got like some bravery shenanigans. Enemy units within 3 have -1 to their bravery, which can sometimes come into play. What I like about them is the fact that they're like the Chaos Warriors. They're insanely hard to actually kill. So even if you take the Glaives, which is the build that I would take, Glaive and Shield, even if you don't get the charge, if you get the charge with the Glaives, you do 2 damage rather than 1, and you've got a -1 rend instead of nothing. So they become quite killy. But that's not why you take them. You take them because you run them up, you put them in front of that block of units, that unit that is a giant block that you don't want to move, and you stop it from moving. You park these guys in front of it, and you make it impossible for your enemy to get rid of them. The enemy can't use, like the Warriors, using magic against these guys is, you've got a 1/3 chance of just essentially nullifying it, and you've still got a 4-up save, which is decent, and for Tzeentch is very, very good. Very few units in Tzeentch actually have better than a 4-up save, so you're not losing anything. If these guys were 40 points cheaper, they would be an auto-include in every list. But as it stands, you're comparing these guys to Enlightened with the same points cost, and Enlightened can benefit from the heroes, whereas these guys really don't synergize with any of your heroes. But they are good at what they do, which is they are shock cavalry. They're designed to get the charge off and have a big impact on the first turn. And then you could retreat these guys back, and then all your horrors or your acolytes can just fire into that unit as well, because they're going to have an 18-inch shooting attack. So I like knights. They're not particularly competitive, but if you want to switch it up a bit, yeah, go for it. I would take them.
Yeah, you can try them out, see how they do.
Yeah, they're a fun unit. They are a fun unit. They're a nice unit. I enjoy them. I do enjoy them.
Yeah, that's good. And with that is going to be the last unit we're going to review in this video. So it's a bit of a long video, this one, but there are a lot of mortal units. As like I usually do, I break it down to the armies as different segments of the faction I'm covering. So we'll have the mortal units in this video. The next video we'll have demons and whatnot afterwards. So yes, that is the mortal unit. So please let us know down below if you agree with what we said or you disagreed, or got any questions, anything like that. It would be great to here, because like we say, we are bar, 2 people going over this. And is there anything else you want to sort of say as an overview on these mortal units we've looked at?
Like I say, I don't play a lot of mortal stuff, but I do. Like, first and foremost, I think the most important thing, aesthetically wise, is all of the mortal stuff for Tzeentch looks excellent. A lot of it's new sculpts. The Acolytes and the Zangors look great. The Skyfires are a lot of fun. The heroes are a lot of fun. The model range is quite diverse. So they've got things that look like demons that aren't demons, that are actually mortals, but that aren't beasts of chaos, and they're a very, very
diverse, but they all go well together.
Yes, they're a very diverse thing, but they do. Yeah, you can synergize up things very, very well. Zangors synergize with Zangors well, and mortal, like actual human-y style guys, might marry up with the human-y style guys well. So you can be very fluffy with an army, or you can be very. These guys are reasonably competitive. I mean, Zangors are horrendous, so that's something to think about. If you don't want to go down the demon route, 10 Zangors cost the same as 10 pink horrors, so something worth thinking about. But yeah, I do. I like all. I love. I'm a Tzeentch player. I love Tzeentch. I am a demon player, but yeah, I do. I love the Acolytes. They're some of my favourite models to just look at, and you can go wild with the paint colours on them because they've got like really beautiful armour panels and funky helmets and feathers and stuff. So yeah, don't be afraid to let your hobby go wild on the Acolyte stuff, because it's nice stuff. It is really nice.
And like model wise as well, the Acolytes do go. They fit in with the demons. If you want to mix them up, do you know what I mean? Like it all aesthetically, it all looks very, very pleasing. Yeah, if you've got blocks of some pink horrors and you've got Acolytes that synergize well together because they bounce off each other's keywords, it looks very nice. So, but yeah, I'm like I say, I'm not a mortal player, but I have played with some mortal stuff. I do own Skyfires. I'm not going to lie; they are nice models. Not only are they nice models, they're quite powerful. But yeah, I think there's such a variety with them, so you don't have to be shoehorned into picking one thing. They're all reasonably effective choices. Even the Chaos Warriors still have a place in a Tzeentch army, which is nice because it's going to let you not burn out on picking one unit over and over and over again. You have some variety, and you can switch up your playstyles. Your Zangors are going to give you very strong melee attacks. Your Acolytes are going to give you the sort of in-between melee and shooting attacks, and your pink horrors are your wizards and your shooters. So you've got a nice overview of what you can pick from the Tzeentch-only stuff, and that's not including things like Marauders and Chaos Warriors, which is going to give you your generic melee, hard-to-kill units. So yeah, you've got great variety with the mortal stuff. Great variety. Yeah. Great variety, lots of synergy, and lots of lovely new models. So with that, we're going to end the video. So like I say, if you did enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Thank you very much, Martin, to join us in this video again. Being absolutely great, helping us out with the Tzeentch stuff. And if you'd like to see Martin's channel, definitely recommend for you guys to go over there. There's going to be a description at the top of the show notes about the video. The link will be there, and it is Chasing Those Sixes, isn't it, Martin?
Yeah, that's been really good.
Cool. All right then. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for watching this. I'd like to thank all my patrons again for their continued support and help with making me able to produce as much content as I can for this channel. And with that, I'm going to say to you guys, thank you very much for watching this, and remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in the gash.